That game was an embarrassment. The players should be embarrassed. The coaches should be embarrassed. Because I can tell you with 100% certainty, the fan base that was at the game and then watched it at home are embarrassed. There has got to be something that comes out of this. It's not enough at this point to just determine responsibility. The fan base is demanding accountability. That being said, I want to walk you through the 5 main reasons why Joe Woods should be the main focus of said accountability. So before I get into this, I do want to say that I think that all the main coaches should be on notice here. Mike Priefer has been very streaky in terms of success over the last couple of years. He's failed to develop a kicker, a punter, and a truly competent return man, which, to be honest, is the main duty of a special teams coordinator. In this game, he failed to stop a fake punt, which led to a touchdown. We missed an extra point, which then accounted for 8 points in the game. We fumbled a punt, which then we later recovered. And we couldn't cover an onside kick at the most critical point in the game that led to the loss ultimately. Kevin Stefanski on the other side continues to admit failures in every press conference when there's a loss. He continues to admit the failures, and it's mostly about situations that led to things like a complete disregard for clock management, which is a core element of the win condition in football. We're in year 3. This is not first-year jitters. These are not things that professionals should be screwing up in their 3rd year. So Mike Priefer and Kevin Stefanski absolutely have some of the blame here. But let's get into the main crux of the story today. Joe Woods. Reason number 1. His defense so far this year has given up 55 points, 34 of which have come in the 4th quarter when the game was on the line. We made 37-year-old Joe Flacco look like the resurrection of Tom Brady in his prime. We brought in Dan Marino from the 80s or Joe Montana from the 80s, and we played against him this last weekend. It makes no sense. Joe Flacco threw for 307 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did have 1 turnover, which was a fumble that we recovered in a critical moment. But other than that, Joe Flacco was nearly perfect against this defense. Which brings me to reason number 2. It's not like he doesn't have talent out there. We have 1st and 2nd round picks all over this defense. We have Myles Garrett, who's the best defensive end in the league and arguably the best defensive player in the NFL. We matched him with Jadeveon Clowney on the other side, giving him a break. Now, Jadeveon got injured in this game, so we'll see how long that takes, but that's a typical thing with Jadeveon, right? So we have an excellent anchor defensive player. Then in the middle, we have guys like J.O.K., Anthony Walker, very competent, now veteran linebackers who are putting up very good PFF scores, I might add. On the corners, we have early first round pick, Denzel Ward, who just got paid a ton of money. We have Greg Newsome on the other side, another 1st round pick. And then you have guys like John Johnson and Grant Delpit. And that's really where the breakdown starts to occur. These are our safeties. More often than not, are contributing next to nothing and are hurting this team. But that being said, there's not a team out there that has Pro Bowlers at every position. And the way I see it, we have the potential here to have 6 Pro Bowlers on the defensive side. So I mentioned them before. Myles, Jadeveon, J.O.K., Anthony Walker, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome. I think these are the guys that legitimately would have an opportunity to make a Pro Bowl. They're talented. They've got experience now. And some of them have been there before. So this is what you're working with. These are the ingredients that you have shopped for and you've got. And for you not to be able to execute with this level of talent, it leads me to think There are other issues with this particular coach. Number 3, communication. So we already touched on this a second ago. 75-yard TD pass in the Panthers game, 60-plus TD yard pass in this game. We got lucky in the Panthers game by being able to drive down and have that rookie kicker hit a 58-yarder to win the game. If not, we'd be 0-2 right now. And we'd be 0-2 primarily because our defensive secondary does not know how to communicate or does not clarify to each other that they know what coverage they're in. That is a big, big problem. There should not be guys like Corey Davis scoring 66-yard touchdowns at hypercritical moments when everybody believes the game is over and they fall asleep and say, you know what? I'm gonna play the wrong coverage. I'm going to let these guys get behind me. I'm sorry. If it's Denzel Ward, then you know what, Denzel? You got paid a ton of money. You've been to Pro Bowls. Although you've been hurt, you make good plays. There are moments where everybody says, Denzel, this is a special player. People around the league, any other team would take a Denzel Ward. But if you're going to sit there and allow a guy to get behind you, and then the safety decides, you know what, I'm going to peel off to the center of the field, and I'm not going to protect the deep third on the right side. And then they drop the easiest touchdown pass that I may have ever seen as an NFL fan. The guy literally walked into the end zone. He was open by 15 yards. Joe Flacco just simply had to drop it in there. Unacceptable. Got to clear up the communication. And you have to have a coach who's willing to bark in these guys' face and make them understand what the hell they're supposed to be doing out there. Number 4, his entire pass rush strategy is reliant on Myles Garrett getting to the quarterback. Joe Woods, I'm not even sure if he knows what blitzing is. I don't know if he knows that he's allowed to call a blitz on defense whenever he wants. It's actually something you can do in the NFL and actually any level of football. And Joe, what you do is you've got your defensive linemen that are attacking the quarterback, and whether they're scheming to open up a hole for a linebacker or a defensive back, or whether you just hide one, you sneak him up and you bring pressure. Hell, you can even show the pressure ahead of time and then bring the heat with it. Think of Pittsburgh's defense historically, or Baltimore's defense, who were blitzing upwards of 80% of the time. You have got to dial up pressure in this league. You cannot let a statuesque 37-year-old quarterback feel comfortable back there. You can't do it because guess what? You're not a 37-year-old quarterback in the NFL if there's not a reason for it. He's still accurate. He still has poise and composure, and he can make the throws. So if you're going to give him time and you're going to have one guy primarily going after him, because that's what you're doing. You have one guy who can get pressure on him. What they did all game, I watched it. They just chipped him, or they had two guys. You had a guard that came over as well and protected. So there was holes they were opening. They're like, bring a linebacker, please. And they never did it. And Joe Woods he refuses to dial up pressure, and he lets the rest of the team drop back into what I consider to be a very soft zone. Everything was open underneath. He was protecting against the deep ball all game, which is ironic because we ultimately led to one of the plays that changed the game happened to be broken coverage, and the guy got behind him. So you're going to play basically a version of soft prevent all game, letting guys do 15 yards outs, catching the ball really comfortably. And then at the end, when it matters, the team they're just falling asleep because that's what they've done the whole time, that a guy gets behind him because they broke a coverage. It's embarrassing. We're all sick of it. Like I said before, there's enough talent on this team that you should be able to figure out a way to blitz. It's to the point in Cleveland where when we blitz, it's almost like everybody celebrates. We're shocked. Oh my God, did you see he blitzed that down? That's crazy. We don't ever see that. And we're sick of it. And number 5. Now, this one's a little bit subjective, but I don't see that fire, that passion that you want out of a defensive coordinator. You think of the best defensive coordinators ever. You think of guys like Buddy Ryan, right? Who punched an offensive coordinator in the face on the sidelines of a game. That's how much drive and passion that guy had. You look at another guy like Gregg Williams, who coached in Cleveland. He's out there on Cameo. You can buy a Cameo from him right now, and he'll teach you how to play defense. They don't defend every yard on a football field. They don't defend every inch. They defend every blade of grass.
We don't defend every yard on the field. We defend every blade of grass, and that's my grass.
That's the type of defensive coordinator that you need to motivate these multi-millionaires, to strike fear in them and say, we demand excellence. We demand you compete on every play. That's what we need. Joe Woods seems like he has the personality and drive of a walnut. Again, first and second round picks all over the field. Some of the best players we've ever had in Cleveland. Ever. And he's not getting the most out of them. He's getting the worst out of them. He's allowing them to regress. And I'm sorry, it's not good enough. Thank you guys very much for watching. I want to hear from you, though. Do you agree with these 5? Is there something possibly I missed that you can think of? I want to hear from you. Leave it in the comments. Let me know if you would fire Joe Woods or maybe not. And if you would, let me know why. All right, everybody. Again, thanks for watching, and go Browns.